I want to tell you something about your brain. Your brain is not a fixed thing. It is not like a machine that is built once and then slowly wears down. It is alive. It grows and changes in response to what you ask it to do. It builds new connections when it learns new things. It strengthens existing connections when it practices things it has already learned. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt throughout life. And here's what the science shows clearly. Learning a language is one of the most powerful exercises for the brain that exists, not because it is hard, because it is complex in exactly the right way. It requires memory, storing new words, new patterns, new sounds. It requires attention, focusing on input, processing meaning, producing output. It requires problem solving, figuring out how to express a thought in a system with different rules from your own. It requires adaptability, adjusting as the language surprises you. All of these things happening simultaneously in every English session are keeping your brain active, flexible, and young. When you study English every morning, you are not just building language, you are exercising your brain, maintaining its flexibility, strengthening the very circuits that keep you thinking clearly, remembering well, and engaging fully with the world around you. Every session is not just an investment in your English, it is an investment in your mind. Today's story is about a young man named Viktor. Viktor started learning English for professional reasons and discovered along the way something more valuable than he had expected. This is his story. Meet Viktor. Viktor was 34 years old. He worked as a mechanical engineer at a manufacturing company, designing components, overseeing production processes, troubleshooting technical problems. His mind was his primary tool. He thought in systems. He solved problems methodically. He was good at holding complex information and working through it carefully. He had started learning English 8 months ago, motivated entirely by a practical need. His company was expanding internationally. The senior engineers who could communicate with international partners had better opportunities. He wanted those opportunities. So he had started studying. Structured course, vocabulary review, technical English reading. He was consistent. The English was building. But something else was happening that he had not anticipated. He was noticing in his regular work, in his engineering thinking, that something felt sharper, not dramatically, subtly, but really. He was holding multiple threads of a problem in his mind more easily. He was noticing details in technical drawings that he might have glossed over before. He was finding that the mental flexibility required by the English study was somehow, in a way he could not quite explain, carrying over into his engineering mind. He mentioned this to his doctor during a routine checkup. His doctor, a thoughtful man named Dr. Hakim, was not surprised at all. What Dr. Hakim explained, Dr. Hakim was 50 years old. He had a particular interest in brain health and cognitive longevity, keeping the mind sharp and capable across a long life. He listened to Viktor describe the unexpected sharpness he had been noticing. He said, "What you are experiencing is real, and it has a well-understood reason." He explained, "When you learn a language, your brain is doing something very particular. It is managing two systems simultaneously. Your native language, which is automatic and deeply wired, and the new language, which requires active processing, attention, and effort. The brain has to switch between them, suppress one while using the other, manage the interference between them," he continued. This management, this constant switching and suppressing and managing, exercises parts of the brain that are directly connected to attention, mental flexibility, and working memory. The same cognitive tools you use in your engineering work. Every English session is training those tools. He looked at Viktor. The research on this is substantial. Bilingual people, people who actively maintain two languages, show greater cognitive reserve. They demonstrate better attention control. They show more mental flexibility in problem solving. And in older age, they show delayed onset of cognitive decline. He paused. You started learning English for professional reasons, but you are getting something more valuable alongside it. You are keeping your brain young. Lesson 1. Understanding the exercise. After the appointment, Victor sat in his car for a few minutes. He thought about what Dr. Hakim had said. He had started the English study as a career investment. He had been measuring its value purely in terms of professional English capability, but it was also simultaneously, automatically, without any additional effort, a brain exercise. Every morning session was training his attention, his working memory, his mental flexibility, the specific cognitive tools that made him good at engineering and that would keep him thinking clearly for decades to come. He thought about the 30 minutes differently now, not just 30 minutes of English, but 30 minutes of brain exercise. 30 minutes of maintaining the flexibility and sharpness that the brain needs. 30 minutes of investment in the mind that does every other thing he valued. He thought about people who went to the gym, who maintained physical fitness not because they needed to run a race, but because the body worked better across all activities when it was regularly exercised. The brain was the same. And language learning was one of the best workouts it could get. He wrote in his notebook, the English study is not just English. It is brain exercise, attention, memory, flexibility, all trained simultaneously. Every morning session is a workout for the mind that does all my other thinking. This changes how I value the 30 minutes. Daily English sentences. Repeat after me. Learning English keeps my brain active, flexible, and young. Every session trains attention, memory, and mental flexibility. I am building English and exercising my mind, both at the same time. The brain works better across all activities when it is regularly exercised. 30 minutes of English is 30 minutes of brain maintenance. I invest in my English. I invest in my mind. The same 30 minutes. Language learning is one of the best workouts the brain can do. Lesson 2. Making the most of the brain exercise. 1 month after his conversation with Dr. Hakim, Victor intentionally made his English sessions more challenging, not harder in a frustrating way, more cognitively demanding in a deliberate way. Dr. Hakim had said that the brain benefit came specifically from the effort of managing two language systems simultaneously, from the switching, from the suppressing of the automatic language and the active production of the new one. Victor understood the greater the engagement required, the greater the brain exercise. So he changed his sessions slightly. Instead of silent reading, he read aloud. His mouth had to produce the sounds while his mind was processing the meaning. Two things simultaneously. Instead of passive listening, he listened and summarized. After each audio clip, he spoke a brief summary in English from memory. Production plus memory plus comprehension all at once. Instead of isolated vocabulary study, he used new words immediately in sentences about his actual work. Creating context, building connection. Using the word in a real system rather than in isolation, the sessions took the same 30 minutes, but they required more of him. More active engagement, more simultaneous processing. He felt the difference. Not in his energy. The sessions were not exhausting in the quality of engagement. The brain was more fully in the work. He wrote in his notebook, more active engagement means more brain exercise. Read aloud. Summarize after listening. Use new words in real sentences. Same time. More cognitive work. Better language practice and better brain workout simultaneously. Daily English sentences. Repeat after me. Active engagement produces more brain benefit than passive reception. I read aloud, I summarize, I use words in real context. The brain benefits from the effort, not from the ease. More cognitive work in the same time. Smarter studying. Production plus memory plus comprehension all in one exercise. I make the sessions demand more. The mind grows more. The challenge is the point. I lean into it. Lesson 3. What he started noticing. 6 months after starting the intentional brain exercise approach, Victor made a list of what he was noticing. not in his English, though the English was genuinely building, in his thinking. He was holding complex engineering problems in his mind for longer without losing the thread. A year ago, when a technical problem had many variables, he had needed to write everything down to track it. Now he could hold more in working memory before needing the paper. He was switching between tasks at work more smoothly. The mental flexibility that came from constantly switching between his native language system and English had, as Dr. Hakim had predicted, transferred to other cognitive switching. He was paying attention differently in meetings, more present, less likely to drift. The attention training of English listening, the active, deliberate tracking of meaning in a language that was not automatic, had sharpened his general attention. None of this was dramatic. None of it was something he could have measured precisely, but it was real, consistent, noticeable across 6 months. He mentioned it to a senior colleague, a man who had been a sharp, quick engineer for 30 years. The colleague smiled. "I have been learning a new language for 2 years," he said. "I started because my daughter asked me to. I stayed because of exactly what you are describing." He paused. "The English is good, but the mind staying sharp, that is the better gift." Sami wrote in his notebook, 6 months, noticing the cognitive transfer, working memory, task switching, attention, all slightly better. Senior colleague confirmed the same. The mind staying sharp is the better gift. And 4, 1 year. The two investments. 1 year after starting, Victor sat at his desk before the workday. He had just finished his morning session. Lesson 194. Technical English, Engineering Vocabulary, Specification Reading, Professional Communication. He thought about the year. His English had grown significantly. He could read technical English documents without stopping. He could write professional emails to international partners clearly and accurately. He had participated in 2 video calls with international engineers, both handled, both functional, both evidence of what 1 year had built. His manager had noticed and had assigned him to lead a new international collaboration project. That had been the original goal, the career investment. Achieved. But alongside it, something he had not been looking for when he started. A mind that felt sharper at 35 than it had felt at 33. More flexible, more attentive, better at holding complex problems, better at switching between different types of thinking, more cognitively alive. He thought about Dr. Hakim's words. Bilingual people show greater cognitive reserve, better attention control, more mental flexibility, and in older age, delayed onset of cognitive decline. He was not bilingual yet, but he was on the way. And every morning session, every 30 minutes of vocabulary and grammar and reading aloud and listening and producing was not just building English, it was keeping his brain young. He wrote in his notebook, Year 1, International Project Lead, English that Works, and alongside it, a mind that is sharper than when I started. 2 investments in 1. The same 30 minutes every morning for 1 year, worth more than I knew when I began. Daily English sentences. Repeat after me. Year 1. International Project Lead. A sharper mind. 2 investments in 1. The same 30 minutes built the English and exercised the brain. Worth more than I knew when I began. I keep going. Sharper at 35 than at 33. Language learning did that. The brain grows when it is challenged consistently. Mine has been. 2 gifts from 1 habit. English and a young, flexible mind. Every morning session is an investment in everything I think and do. Final words. Exercise your mind. Victor's story is simple. He started learning English for his career and discovered along the way that he was also exercising his brain, training his attention, his memory, his flexibility, keeping the mind sharp and young in a way that transferred into everything else he did. The English was the plan. The young brain was the gift. Maybe you have been thinking about your English study as only a language investment. I want to offer you a different way of seeing it. Every morning session is also a brain workout. The vocabulary you are working to remember, that is memory training. The grammar you are working to understand and produce, that is cognitive flexibility training. The listening you are pushing yourself to follow, that is attention training. The speaking you are practicing in your room, that is executive function training. All of it, every session, every morning. Keeping the brain active, flexible, sharp, young. You do not have to be young to benefit from this. The brain responds to challenge at any age. The cognitive benefits of language learning are available to every learner who shows up consistently and engages actively. You are not just building English, you are investing in the mind that does everything else. And that investment made every morning in 30 simple minutes is worth more than almost anything else you could do for yourself. Show up, study, learn, and know. As your English grows, that something else is growing too. A brain that is younger than it would have been because you chose to challenge it. See you in the next one. Stay calm, stay curious, and keep your brain young.